So as a homeschool mom, how do you know if you're doing enough? I'm a homeschool coach, so I get this question all the time. I get a lot of parents who come to me wondering, am I doing enough in my homeschool? And that is a really hard question for anybody else to answer for you. In fact, I would say it's an impossible question because nobody can tell you if you are doing enough. Now, every once in a while, I get a client who comes to me and they say, I feel like I'm not doing enough. Am I doing enough? And they walk me through everything they're doing and I'm like, whoa, not only are you doing enough, you are doing way too much. But for most of us, doing enough really is in the eye of the beholder because kids are so different, because families are so different, it's almost impossible. Enough for one child might not be nearly enough for another child. So how do we figure out if we're doing enough? Well, first and foremost, we have to define the benchmark. A lot of homeschool parents are wandering around stressed out, really overwhelmed with this vague feeling that they're not doing enough. And if you ask them, why are you stressed out? Oh, I just don't feel like I'm doing enough. But when you ask them what enough is, they don't have an answer for you. They aren't sure. They're just sure they're not doing it. So the first thing we have to do when we have these vague stresses or these vague worries, I'm not doing enough, I'm going to ruin my child's life, I'm not a good enough teacher, we need to define the benchmark for what is enough. What is good enough? What does that look like for you and your family? And what that looks like generally entails you sit down and you make a list. I like to look over these 4 domains: educational, psychological, physical, and social. And you need to write down exactly what a good education is for the educational portion. For the physical portion, what is enough physical activity? What is enough healthy food? What does a healthy child look like? For the psychological domain, what does a healthy child look like? What am I aiming for my child? What is a well-socialized child? What do they look like? What opportunities do they have? And be very careful here that you are not creating this list for some fictitious child you have in your mind, but for your child, because a couple friends might be enough for one child, and then a huge friend group might not be enough for another. So your child, how does your child respond to social situations? Are they introverted? Are they extroverted? What does good socialization look like for them? Now that you've listed out the traits of a well-educated child, a physically healthy child, a child who's healthy psychologically, and a well-socialized child, you now have a list that you can shoot for. Well, maybe you think a socialized child has 2 or 3 opportunities to participate in a group activity. Well, does your child have those opportunities? They don't? That's something you can fix. Maybe you think a good education is a child who is at grade level for different subjects. Okay, now you can work towards that. Maybe you think a well-educated child is a child who can think critically, who enjoys learning, who is curious about the world. Is your child like that? If they are, great. Check those off your list. Take a deep breath and say, oh wow, I am doing enough. Is your child really struggling in those domains? Well, now you have a list of what you need to work on. See, we don't have to carry around these vague fears all the time. We can sit down and we can either check them off our list and say, oh no, according to my criteria, my child is doing well. Or we can say, oh, look, now I have a list of things that I need to prioritize and work on. But either way, we get to take off that weight that's weighing us down, and we get to take action towards our goals when we know what our goals are. And if you have trouble doing that process, feel free to book with me. I can help you through it.